Metal Gear Solid 2 has always dealt with secrecy, control, and information being weaponized. He who controls the narrative holds the power. And now, strangely enough, the game itself is at the center of a real legal fight. Recently, if you've been following the news or media outlets, source code and internal development materials connected to Metal Gear Solid 2 have leaked online. Konami has responded by filing a lawsuit. This is not just a normal leak like a trailer or something coming out too early, or some screenshots going around 4chan or something like that. According to Konami's complaint, the leaked material includes the source code for the game and non-public game assets and internal development files. And that kind of makes this whole thing a big deal. Now, before I go any further, here's a quick disclaimer. I am not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, and I may not be 100% right in every detail. I'm only going through the public information and trying to explain what this could mean in plain English, and there's a lot of lawyer jargon here, so bear with me. So what has actually happened? Konami says unauthorized copies of Metal Gear Solid 2 material were uploaded and distributed online. The files were reportedly shared through forums and file sharing sites, and Konami says it sent takedown demands to get the links removed. But taking the files down is one part of this whole thing. The bigger issue that they have is they're actually trying to find out who leaked them. It had to be someone internally who had access to these files or who worked at Konami, potentially. I don't think they were hacked. Not as far as I'm aware, I don't think they were hacked. So it had to have been someone probably working on these internally. Now, Konami filed the lawsuit in California on June 2nd, 2026, but the defendants are currently listed as DOS 1 through 10. So in simple terms, this jargon means that Konami doesn't really know who the leaker is yet. It's them just kind of filing a lawsuit to find out who did it. So it's more accurate to say, yeah, they're just using the courts to identify whoever uploaded, copied, or retained these files and distributed them. And I think this is an important detail that a lot of people tend to miss, or a lot of fucking clickbait news articles tend to just kind of overlook, just to get you to click. Konami wants records preserved, and this could include stuff like logs, metadata, upload information, account details, communication, anything else that could help trace the leak back to a person or group. We're not looking like a regular takedown. It's an actual legal attempt to try and find the digital cookie trail. And if this trail leads somewhere to say an anonymous leaker, they could potentially become a named defendant if this kind of escalates further. The main legal claim here is copyright infringement. Under US copyright law, the copyright owner generally has the exclusive right to reproduce and distribute their work. If someone copied and uploaded Metal Gear Solid 2 source code without permission, Konami's argument is that those rights were violated, and that, to me makes sense. They want a court order stopping further distribution. They want unauthorized copies deleted from their computers, servers, accounts, cloud storage, websites, and places where the files may exist. And they want the evidence preserved. And of course they want damages, attorney fees, and legal costs, because this whole thing's probably going to cost a lot of money. Probably like a pin drop in the ocean for Konami, but at this point it escalates from just simple internet drama and memes, right, to there is a serious legal risk here, I feel. Because in the US copyright cases, a rights holder can potentially seek actual damages and profits, or statutory damages, and they can become much higher if infringement is found to be willful. By default, the leaker won't automatically owe a massive amount of money immediately. A court would still need evidence as such, and Konami would need to identify the person responsible. And of course, there'll be more legal questions around jurisdiction, responsibility, and damages, so this is likely to go on for a long time. But once this does reach a federal court, it would kind of change the situation. When you're online, anonymity is, you can feel very safe because you're anonymous, but platforms like Mega, Google Drive, whatever hosts files, they have IP addresses, upload timestamps, emails, and account records. Payment details, if you're paying for extra storage or anything like that, and device information or other identifying data. So if whoever leaked these files hasn't covered their tracks, they're likely to be held accountable, or to be found out, simply put it. It does not really guarantee that Konami will find the leaker, but it explains why they are filing a John Doe lawsuit in the first place. And of course, there is a question of whether this could become criminal, and I do think it could become criminal. And you know, based on what is publicly available right now, this appears to be a civil copyright case, not a criminal prosecution yet. Konami is suing over alleged copyright infringement, and this is different from the government charging someone with a crime, and there are still a lot of unknowns floating around. If the files were obtained through hacking, unauthorized access, theft, or breach of contract, or an NDA violation, then other legal issues could potentially come into play later. Okay, now from a fan perspective, this leak is obviously very fascinating. Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of the most analyzed games ever made. Almost 20 years later, people are still making videos about it. Case in point, people are studying the story, themes, mechanics, and of course the technical design decades later. And these internal files really, you know, help push modding and everything forward. Now, obviously, with the source code being leaked and, you know, mods kind of advancing because of it, or, you know, things being discovered and being used in modding projects and stuff, this does not mean that Konami is going to be suing every fan or modder that has used this. But if a project openly uses leaked code, it kind of becomes a much easier thing to target legally. This is also why clean room reverse engineering exists. In very simple terms, it means recreating how software behaves without copying the original proprietary source code. And the goal is to keep a clear separation between studying behavior and using stolen or unauthorized internal files. Once leaked source code enters the process, it can kind of legally contaminate the project, which is why people need to be very wary about how things go from here. Using unauthorized internal code gives the rights holder a much stronger reason and claim to step in. And another argument I kind of seen people parrot on Twitter and online is that Metal Gear Solid 2 is old. Yeah, okay, but you know, the age does not make source code public domain. MGS2 originally released in 2001, but Konami still sells this game today through the modern releases like the Master Collection, and the franchise still has value, and as far as Konami sees it, it is still a product that it makes money from. So from their perspective, ignoring a major source code leak could set a bad precedent. So what actually happens next? If Konami cannot identify the leaker, the case may stall or remain focused on discovery. But if they obtain useful records from platforms or file hosts, the lawsuit could be amended to name real people. A named defendant could face injunctions, damages, and legal fees, and a very long court process that would drain the bank account even before any final judgment is made. And you know, defending a case like this can be very expensive and stressful. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the source code leak and suing situation. There's a lot of unknowns still kind of in the mix, and a lot of things are happening and taking place. And I think we'll probably see more information regarding this in the coming months. But as of right now, we'll kind of have to wait and see how things unravel and how things go forward. So it'll be very interesting to see how this progresses, if they kind of manage to find out who leaked it, which I think they will if the tracks were covered. I don't really know where these files were leaked. I think it was across 4chan and other image boards and like other places. So it'll be very, very interesting to see. So yeah, hopefully this helps clear stuff up. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please throw us a like. Thanks and peace.